He's among our favorites here on the show. Has a Heritage Restaurant there in Fort Lauderdale. It's red hot. It's smoking hot. Reno Sorbonne joins us here on the show, our hockey analyst. What is it that has these franchises turning on Gerard Gallant, no matter what level of success he has? Now, no longer coaching, but I mean, it was 3 times he was doing well with the Panthers. They threw him off the team bus in a snow dip in Saskatchewan. He was doing great with the Vegas Golden Knights, and they sent him out to the bunny ranch there and said, "Hey, take one up the ass, Gerard. You're out of here." Doing well with the Rangers, and they wouldn't even sell him a knish on the street corner after a couple of years of what looked like pretty successful hockey. But what is it about that guy? Do you know anything on Gerard Gallant?
He was another one. You know, it's funny. First off, look, as a Panther fan, that shit that happened with him, that he got thrown off the plane or bus, that was the worst thing ever. If I were him, I would have waited for the whole front office to be like in the building, and I would have lit it on fire. Because that's bullshit, right?
They had Yager throwing his duffel bag out the window as they left him literally like in a snowdrift somewhere.
Yeah, like an orphan. It was fucking terrible, man. It was absolutely.
They gave him cab fare.
You know, I'm the first guy, man. If I got a problem with you, I'll pack your shit for you, and I'll throw it out the bus myself. As I make the whole team just like defecate in it.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, peel yourself off the mat Monday, and I really am peeling myself off the mat. I don't know about you, Mike Lubie Lubitz, but wow, if you were a sports fan, it was a complete smorgasbord of action all over the place. You couldn't. It was kind of like the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, or the opening wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Maybe when you get excited, you get 4 baseball games in a day. I don't know. Do people still get excited about baseball at that level? Lubie, where they're thinking, oh, good, I can sit in front of the television set and watch 4 straight 3-hour baseball games.
They don't, but they used to. I used to just camp out. It was great.
I mean, they used to fake an illness, right? I mean, anything, get out of work just so you could stay home and watch all of this baseball. But I don't know if that's creating the same or stimulating the same amount of interest as certainly the NBA postseason is. But you couldn't have asked for too much more. And then you had other action also over the weekend, Lubie. And it was a tale of 2 teams for the South Florida franchises that were involved in a postseason. Aaron Pryor, the guy that fought Arguello in 1982, November 1982, the classic fight here at the Orange Bowl, one of the first big events I attended here as a resident of South Florida and a member of the media. Had great seats for that thing. It was absolutely a sensational evening. Can you believe it, Lubie? I was sitting in front of Dustin Hoffman. Hoffman had worse tickets than I did. It was like that scene in American Gangster where, Russell Crowe, says, hey, look who's this guy that's sitting in front of the crooked cop. I mean, unbelievable. He had better seats. And, of course, it was Denzel there who, was hanging out with some mafioso guy at the fabled Ali Frazier fight at Madison Square Garden. Great stuff. But, I mean, it was, very exciting over the weekend. But Pryor used to come across the ring, and he would throw like a haymaker. His first shot was never a jab. It was never any of this, weaving and bobbing around and, just kind of dancing around for a couple of seconds, maybe throwing some kind of rangefinder. No, he would just come and throw a bomb right across the ring there on the very first punch. He ran to the middle of the ring. And that was his signature. Now, it didn't always work, but nonetheless, the Celtics did that same thing, right? It did not look just like they ran across the ring and threw a haymaker, landed it, and knocked the guy down the very first punch. And then in this case, Arguello Pryor, did you want to put this on the trivia challenge? Who was the referee in the Arguello Pryor fight at the Orange Bowl? I still remember this. And I can still see the guy there counting out Arguello. What was that, round 14 did he make it into? My God, the shots this man took in that fight were unbelievable. I never forget this, too, because I remember talking to Alexis many times after that fight took place. Got to know him a little bit. And he said he knew he was in trouble. He hit Pryor. This was one of the hardest hitting guys to box in any of the lower weight divisions. Started out as a featherweight at $126. I mean, imagine getting hit with this guy's shot. It's like a ton of bricks. Had those long, kind of pencil thin arms like Danny Little Red Lopez, and boom, hit you in the head. He said he hit Pryor with the hardest shot that he's ever thrown and connected with. And then he knew he was in a real jackpot there in the late rounds. But when he landed this punch, I think it was around round 11. Both guys should have been exhausted by then. It's an outdoor fight, for Christ's sake. And the humidity here in South Florida, although November, probably not too bad.
So bad, yeah.
I don't remember schwitzing too heavily, though, and I'm a heavy schwitzer. So I think it was a pretty pleasant evening out there.
Yeah, November's fine.
It wouldn't have been that pleasant if you were catching these shots that Pryor and Argoyo were throwing. But he said he landed one right on the chin of Aaron Pryor, and that Pryor looked at him and absolutely just smiled and laughed. And it wasn't one of those phony, deals where the guy smiles even though he's about to get knocked out. He was basically saying, "I didn't even feel that, Alexis." What the fuck did Panama Lewis have in that bomb?
Crazy. Exactly.
That could make you just have a cast iron chin. Incredible. But hitting him with a haymaker, that's what the Boston Celtics did last night to the Miami Heat. And I don't know, did you expect much else, Mike Lubitz? No Jimmy Butler, best team in the East by far.
Yeah.
I know you don't like them, and you think they're vulnerable, and I don't know that they win the championship, but I do think that they will win the Eastern Conference.
I just think they've gone, and I guess to look at the Irish bullshit, but I think they've gotten very lucky. Every single team in the East had not only injuries, major injuries, and they had none. I don't know how that happens over the course of a season, especially in basketball these days. Guys are hurt all the time. They had no injuries, and every single team, the Sixers, Embiid was hurt, was playing well again, and then got hurt in the next game. They could have been a force that the Celtics would have definitely struggled with. The Bucks, look, they looked good without Giannis.
Yeah.
Giannis is hurt, and he's going to miss a fucking month right into the playoff season, and he had no injuries all year long.
He's out for a month?
He's out 2 to 4 weeks. But again, the way he plays, he's not going to come back and be magically himself. And they would have to play. I mean, if they get through the Pacers, which it feels like now they can, which is cool.
Curse of Doc Rivers, maybe worse than the curse of Rachel Nichols. No,
it's up there. So the Heat, who had injuries all year long, Butler comes back, was actually playing pretty well in that game. It looked like the Heat would get past the Sixers and have a nice first round matchup in a Knicks team that I still don't know what to do with. I mean, they struggled in that game versus a Sixers team that didn't look good, to be honest with you. Butler gets hurt again. So, the Knicks had their own injury issues all year long and don't have Randall even now. And the Celtics have everyone. So, to me, the Celtics aren't this scary team. Fucking Sam Hauser is not an NBA player. And Peyton Pritchard is not an NBA player. And Al Horford's in his 70s. The Celtics got very lucky with health. And I give them credit. They proved me wrong. I thought they were going to be more injured than anyone because they're counting everything on Porzingis. And I guess they sitting him the amount of games he would have missed with injury work because he looks healthy for the first time in his career this time of the year, and they are very healthy. They're not better. Like, their team does not scare me at all. Tatum and Brown still look like Tatum and Brown, and they're just got a great matchup this series because one of the better playoff players in the league is sitting on the fucking sidelines. So the Celtics will have an easy series, but they're not scary. They're just lucky. The East is a fucking mass unit or mash unit, whatever the fuck the term is. Mash
something
unit
like that, yeah.
Yeah, they're a mash unit. They'll go through the East easy, and then I think whoever's in the East West will kick their fucking ass, and I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, Denver was pretty impressive. I always tell you, I mean, this is my common theme every year in the NBA. I think you have to whisper this all season long under the current configuration of their roster. Don't sleep on the Lakers. Because you keep asking yourself, how could this team not be, capable of beating anybody else? I know they finished up were they the 7th or 8th team in the Western Conference?
7th. They finished
7th. Yeah.
Zion got hurt. They would have been probably the 8th. Zion got hurt, and the Pelicans were probably going to win that game, and they won that game, and they were the 7th.
Yeah, but I mean, where were they? They were on the road. So they finished what, 9th?
They were 9 or 10 all year.
Wow.
They're not. The record was okay, but they were in. I mean, look, LeBron still's good, and Anthony Davis stayed healthy for.
Anthony Davis was great in many spots this year.
Since the rest of the Austin Rivers kid that everyone loves was okay. He didn't take a step forward. And the rest of D'Angelo Russell has fallen off.
I mean, Reeves.
Austin Reeves. I'm sorry, Austin
Yeah,
Reeves.
yeah.
Austin Rivers doesn't play anymore.
Austin Rivers, he should
Austin
be in
Reeves-
Doc's lineup.
Thing is-
I held did Milwaukee win that game by like 50 points. That was
Damian
pretty
Lillard
incredible
did
too.
Damian
But
Lillard things, and that's the thing is Damian Lillard has people are like he fell off. He didn't fall off. He went from being a number 1 to a number 2, and as we've seen, it's not easy, and you need a certain coach to help you through that. And Doc Rivers clearly isn't the fucking guy, and the guy before was doing an okay job, and they didn't give him a chance. Damian Lillard is still Damian Lillard when he's allowed to be number 1 and take over. We saw what he can do. It's figuring out how he and Giannis can work together, and that is 100% coaching. And Doc Rivers isn't the fucking guy. The Bucks should have been vastly better than they were. They made a weird ass coaching move for some reason. Like sometimes you tell your superstars, "Hold on, let's see." And that's what Riley did with Spoelstra when LeBron came to the office. He learned from his Stan Van Gundy fucking move, and he said, "Look, I'm not firing this fucking guy," and it worked out. Spoelstra changed the fucking game. Spoelstra's the one that literally created small ball, which revolutionized basketball. LeBron changed his game, and he went on to 4 straight finals, winning 2. The Bucks fucked up. The Bucks should have told Giannis, just relax, man. Okay, look at your fucking record. It's early in the year, and they fucked up. They rushed. They brought in a guy that has a track record of doing this. Doc Rivers, I'm sure, isn't a sucky coach, but he's not a guy that makes better. He takes what he has and makes it worse or the same. And
he's made some serious blunders. I mean, right up there with Kevin Cash pulling Blake Snell out of a World Series game because he gave up like an infield topper and busted up a perfect game or whatever at the time, so close to it. The guy was pitching great. Cash takes him out because he's going with the cookie cutter formula. Well, he's gone 6 2/3. They're going to look to the bullpen now. Unbelievable. I mean, we see coaches make blunders all the time. They obviously are exaggerated when they go wrong, and you don't see as many examples of them coming up with something brilliant. But you certainly never saw that out of Doc Rivers. So when he had Embiid in that game, late in the ballgame, when the Philadelphia 76ers were up by 60 points, and he ended up getting injured last year, I mean, that was tragic. That's just stupid.
Yep.
You can't excuse that. If you're a coach of a team, how do you not know that it's prohibitive? That the last thing you would want to see is some fluke injury, which could occur at any time in an NBA game. Let's face it, you can always land on a guy's sneaker. How many times have you done it, Lubie, yourself?
All the time.
You go up for a rebound or you're up in the air and you come down on a guy's shoe and the ankle twists, and that's a minimum of missing a couple of weeks usually.
When it's
the thing rolls over.
Embiid, if there's injury to be found, Embiid will find it.
That's true.
Fragile. He looks good. You're like, oh shit. Even I was like, oh, remember I talked that shit early in the year, and they actually played well. He played well. I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong about the Sixers because Maxey, your guy, took a step, became really a superstar. Harris fell into his role. They went and got Buddy Hield. I'm like, oh shit, look at the Sixers. And then Embiid misses 2 months. that's his career.
But Buddy Hield, and he's fallen into this category now. Andy, I was talking with Andy, who is hanging in there, man. The kid's on the ropes, but he's hanging in there.
Yeah, Mayo didn't like something he posted. I'm like, I don't think it says what you think it is. Andy's not gonna tell the world negative. Like if Andy's saying something, it's probably a fucking joke. So I'm hoping he's doing all right. I haven't heard from him. So
he's hanging in. He's hanging in. He definitely is getting a standing 8 count. And, of course, this is what I found out with my experience with the medical world, which is, wow. I mean, you talk about just making sure that you're completely confused. That's what they want you to be, I think. I don't know. And they are, too. I mean, not necessarily by design or incompetence, but, it's not that easy, right? It's like the draft. It's an inexact science at this point.
Well, the problem is it should be an exact science. Look, it's what we joked about.
They have a lot of remedies for things that otherwise couldn't be corrected or, couldn't, leave you with the possibility of coming back to what you were, at least. I mean, the methods have improved immensely. No doubt.
We joked about it with the Dolphins years ago. The problem in the medical field, from your experience, when I was there with my grandma, happy Passover as well, yes.
All right.
There's too many cooks in the kitchen. So and what happens is it's like a really shitty front office.
Yeah.
They communicate. You'll have like 4 doctors on your case.
That's exactly right.
One thing, and they don't touch base with the other fucking doctors.
No.
See what's going on with the other shit. So they it probably would work great if they just talk to each other, but they don't.
Yeah.
So they tell you 4 different things of advice. You don't know what the fuck to think, and they make you
You're
win.
happy to get out of there. Yeah, alive. That's it. You wouldn't care. I mean, they start with the most severe things. So yeah, he's kind of hanging in there and hanging by a thread. But we were talking about guys. He was saying that he's never seen Grayson Allen hit a three. That every time Grayson Allen takes a shot. Now I've seen Grayson Allen hit threes, and of course he led the league in 3-point shooting percentage this year. Even though we hate this guy like poison.
100%.
The despicable scumbag of a basketball player that do I root against his success? No, but wow, because I'm kind of surprised that not only is he still in the league, but that he's actually a factor in the league at this point in time. So he's chucking threes up there, and Andy says he's never seen him hit a shot, even much like my Kyle Korver references for many years, because it was true. The guy led the league perennially in 3-point shooting percentage. He was always among the top 10 in 3-point shooting percentage. And every time he shot, it was one of those ones that kind of buzzed in and out and then came out.
Yep.
It was right there, but at the same time, never went in. Buddy Hield has become that guy for me. Wasn't he supposed to be a great shooter, Buddy Hield, when he was at Oklahoma and he was chucking them up for 50 a game? The guy, he wasn't this inaccurate, was he?
No, with the Kings and then the Pacers, he settled into a nice spot where he was not a great player, not a very good player, but a good player. And that's sort of, I guess, where he is. Like, I mean, he's like the 4th guy on the Sixers.
Yeah.
He was, I think, a top 15 or 20 pick. He did not become that, but
you need a guy like that to actually, all of a sudden become like Batum did in that game against the Heat.
Yes.
Where he went right back in the very next game to being the 5-point scoring non-entity, non-factor that he was all season long.
The Celtics got it yesterday from Hauser. It was actually a tight game until Hauser hit like 4 threes in like, was it a 5 or 6 minute stretch? I mean, again, he had to hit the shots, so I give the guy credit. And the Heat's defense was they were doubling guys that did, like Al Horford's, and it's again like 74. You don't need to double Al Horford. Hauser took advantage of it. And look, the Heat did it all last postseason. They had guys. Max Strus would do it one game, and Robinson. That's what you need is random guys that you forgot are in the league to go and make 18 points in 8 minutes.
All right, well, that was happening. The Heat getting crushed by the Boston Celtics. Simultaneously, basically, the Panthers were at home against the much-despised Tampa Bay Lightning, maybe the only real rivalry that we have among teams here in the state outside of, say, college football.
College we have it. The pros, we don't have it at all. We don't.
No,
I root on the other teams. I root on the Rays. I root until Brady got there. I rooted for the Bucks.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Jags.
Jaguars are completely insignificant, aren't they? Holy Mark Brunell. What are we talking about the Jaguars for?
I mean, the Magic, outside, years ago, for some reason, we couldn't beat Daryl Armstrong, but the Heat always found a way to get the best of the Magic, so I could give a fuck about the Magic. I didn't hate the Magic.
Nobody cares about the Magic, right? I mean, at one time, the Magic were good.
Yeah.
And it was a very brief period of time. They were in there with what? Shaq, Horace Grant.
And then Dwight Howard, they had a little run.
Dwight Howard, yeah, they had a little bit of a run there. But other than that, I mean, you pass by there when you're going to Disney World or you're on that treacherous I-4 if you're ever in the Orlando area and you pass by the Amway Center and you're thinking, oh, yeah, the fucking Magic. They have a team here. Nobody gives a shit about the Orlando Magic. With all due respect to Paolo Banchero, who has acquitted himself very well. Who would you rather have, Banchero or Holmgren at this point? It's a good question about the 1 versus 2, seeing as the draft is right around the corner here, and we're probably going to, I don't know. Can you make a mistake?
Oh yeah,
in outlining a mock draft of the top 3 picks.
Oh no.
Do you think you could be off on that, or is it predetermined? Caleb Williams will go to the Bears, right? Number 1 pick.
Yes.
Obviously, since they've already traded Fields. You have what? Who's going to be 2? Daniels, even though the professor thinks that he's going to be the most likely to be all Dolly Parton and be one of the bigger busts in the draft this year. And then Drake May is the 3rd guy, right?
I think the top 3 are locked in at this point.
1, 2, 3 in that order.
I'm curious what happens with McCarthy. He's the guy that's. I mean, Daniels too. Daniels to me is a late first.
Doesn't McCarthy end up going in the 2nd round now that everybody's been talking about how whoa, everybody loves this kid? Are you kidding me?
Yes, it seems like he's the guy that drops, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's still on the board." Wow, that's weird.
Kuiper's hair is standing up like Don King. You got Herb Street babbling on incessantly about how wonderful this guy is. He wish he had gone to Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that's the one that everybody's way off on. I love when there's speculation about a guy like that, especially a guy who ultimately turns out that he couldn't play, like Tim Tebow. Remember that draft when Tim Tebow? Well, is he going to go in the first round?
I mean, it wasn't a question until Josh McDaniels made it one. He was like a third-round guy.
He's throwing his douchebag left-handed jump pass at the goal line. Everybody, did you see that? He's like Joe fucking Willie. Give me a break. All right, we're going to run here. We haven't touched on the Panther game. That was good. We started to talk about it a little bit, and then we got sidetracked into the mock draft here.
Yes,
So I'm pretty confident. Now, will there be trades? Is it not going to be the teams selecting that make that order? Now, Williams is going to be number one. If that doesn't happen, it would be like Caitlin Clark not being the number one pick of the Indiana fucking Fever. And by the way, the Pacers could have used Caitlin Clark yesterday. Wow. Wouldn't that have been great? I mean, if in garbage time she made an appearance for the Pacers and actually sparked them, rallied them to a comeback against the Bucks, they lost by 15. Would they have suffered any?
No.
Speaking of medical care, did Rick Carlisle not look like one of those people that unfortunately you have to visit when they're in their last days of hospice care?
That was rough. You get no Giannis, and somehow it doesn't matter. That was weird.
How could you get buried by the Bucks without Antetokounmpo in there? He is their team. I know Damian Lillard was a big deal, and they have other guys, a couple of supporting players that have some substance to them. But wow, I mean, getting clobbered. I saw the post-game press conference with Rick Carlisle. He really looked like he had just come from an oncologist's office, and the guy had told him, "Sorry to say this, Rick, but you got 2 days left. That's it."
Jesus.
I don't mean to put that on him, but he looked bad. He and Cuban had the faces of defeat yesterday. I think they just were traded.
Look, the Heat were down their guy. They got annihilated. Okay, again, the Celtics are a really good team. The Celtics also have been waiting for this. And I think the minute Butler got hurt, they all were like, oh, thank God. So they were not going to waste that. Fine. But it was the other way in those other games where they don't get no Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers played better. No Giannis, and Damian Lillard was like, oh, thank God, now I can go back to just chucking.
Yeah.
It was fucking weird.
Phenomenal, man. Yeah. So only a couple of good games, though, coming out of the NBA. The NHL always produces Stanley Cup playoffs, insane. I don't know where I really start, though. I can't say that my interest was as strong in what was going on in other NHL games besides the Panther game. I did watch a few, I would say segments of the Rangers game. I saw a little bit of Vancouver last night as they were actually down to Nashville. I didn't realize this. Remember I told you my sleeper team to win the Stanley Cup? Where it was the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yes.
Sleeper my ass, DeForest. They're the favorites.
Yeah. I don't know if they're the favorite. I mean,
I think they're plus 550, the number one team on the list there to win the Stanley Cup this year. What the hell happened?
They're a good team. I mean, they're top. Were they the three? They're the 3 seed.
Yeah.
And they've been hanging around for years now. So, people think it's their time. I don't know. We'll see. The Rangers are interesting. The Rangers, I know, don't have all the talent, but they're really tough. And we know that's what's.
Well, Rangers won the President's Cup. That's always a kiss of death.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it will be for them this year. And a ton of excitement. I was telling Jim Sarney, our good friend Jim Sarney, may he continue to progress. And he said he couldn't make it out there to the buffet. He's not a big buffet fan.
Oh, we know that.
And at the same time, imagine Sarney's frustration with 11 games that you had to watch at the same time yesterday. Golf tournaments. He was all in on that Nelly Korda story. Said that was the prime story that was coming out of sports yesterday was Nelly Korda's 5th consecutive victory on the LPGA Tour. So I told him, he would have loved it, the Sunday Post, where, and some people would say, what kind of maniac, right-wing lunatic newspaper are you reading?
Wow.
And I can ignore all that stuff because I find it, I'll read it and go, that was well written, but what a bunch of fucking garbage. you have to assume that all of the assumptions that you're making are correct to believe some of this rhetoric, right? And then there's like a big picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene at the top of the page there. But so right, all credibility is out the window. But the sports section is great and had, I believe, 8 pages of hockey yesterday. Between the Islanders being involved in the playoffs, although that appears like it might be a very brief appearance, and the Rangers, who now, I mean, holy Mark Messier, what are we talking about here, Lubie? Are they possibly the winners of the Stanley Cup? Can you imagine? That would be a humongous story. You can't discount really anybody, though, but I was surprised to see Carolina as a favorite.
I mean, look, they've been good for years now, and look, the East to me is sort of up for grabs. The Panthers have a lot of talent. They played well all year. The Rangers are really tough. They finished strong. The Bruins were a good team the last 2-3 years. The East is going to be a fucking dogfight like it was last year. That's the problem for the Panthers was they made it through three really tough series and were dead when they faced Vegas. Like, that's the thing for the East. I sort of feel bad because whoever you play, look, the Lightning are good. The Lightning were 2 or 3 time champions and had a good year. And that's who the Panthers have to play in the first.
Kucherov, 140 points. I mean,
Like,
he put himself
annoying.
in some illustrious company with that kind of a total. Guess he was in a dead heat for the most points in the NHL this year. I mean, the Panthers, for some reason, I don't know. This is a bad illusion to make, Lubie. I'm almost sorry that I'm about to say this. But have you had an occasion where you were getting in a car and either the girl you were with or your wife or whomever was going to be coming out like within a minute or so, but you couldn't contain yourself and you like farted in the car, and that you're hoping the scent dissipates before she gets in and goes, "Oh my God." Was that period that the Panthers had sort of towards the end of the regular season where, you're just hoping that maybe this stench will go away before she gets in, and then it's no harm, no foul. It's chick Hearn time. It's great.
I hope.
Was that a bad example?
It wasn't. It was actually sort of spot on. It was like, okay, what is this? What the fuck? Okay,
Yeah.
go away.
But almost, in conjunction, a variation on your magic wand theme and theory. Maybe they do, just bring it right back and have that spark going in the postseason. That'd be cool. So we'll see. Anyway, tale of two teams. The Heat get blown out. The Panthers win at home. And, wow, you couldn't ask for much more in terms of sporting activity. We'll come back with more on the program. Peel yourself off the mat Monday here on the Defo Show with one Mike Lubitz. So you say this thing, wow, I mean, that was good. Congratulations to all the people out there. Gulfstream Park. That Joe Beige is a hell of a guy, huh?
Beige is great. And he gave us a whole area, and we took up a whole area, and it was a lot of people. It was a lot of fun. You were missed. Andy Mann, who usually attends those, was missed.
Yeah.
Ernie, I love him, was not missed because of how he does not enjoy those things.
Sarny, no, he was very grumpy at the last one, man.
Sagredo and his lovely wife was there, and it was a good time.
And Tony have a good time. Yeah.
Tony had a great time. Mayo brought his daughter, who recently has accepted her entrance into Florida State, so she was all excited. Val brought a bunch of people, a lot of family, so it was a lot of fun. It was a really good time. And Gulfstream Park, 10 Palms, Joe Beige always do a great job, and they more than did not disappoint yesterday.
You can't go wrong there, right? I mean, you're talking about throwing what? It was like $44 or something.
Yeah.
For
all day, we were. I can
actually all day, yeah, and a nice table there. I mean, in a clubhouse kind of setting. No, it's real. It's old school track stuff, right? Where you decide you're going to go ahead and spring for a table in a nice spot, and it's good to do once in a while. Lubie, it really is. There's no doubt about it. I mean, even if you're the lowest form of degenerate that is crawling along the fence by the rail, looking to see if somebody errantly threw away a show ticket. It's good to change it up once in a while, and that's a really nice experience. All right, we'll come back with more here on a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. A couple of other things, too, to touch on here on the show, and we'll be back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:37.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten a sugar daddy.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good to have you guys with us here. Peel yourself off to Matt Monday. I'm Jeff DeForest. Of course, that is Mike Lubitz. Lubie not distraught at all about his Miami Heat and the just hammering they took at the hands of the Boston Celtics. He sees them winning one game, and then that'll be it. Sayonara, and it'll be a long off season of pondering circumstances for one Patrick Riley.
It'll be an interesting offseason. What's funny to me is Heat fans are like, they'll finally do something. They've tried to do something. Joe Cronin last year didn't care if he lost his job. As you look at it now, the Heat's trade was by far, as I said at the time, the best trade out there. All teams would have gotten something.
I mean, Portland was horrendous this year.
Instead, Portland was miserable.
Yeah.
Bucks even the Bucks who got Dame had their issues, and the Heat had their issues. Joe Cronin, by all accounts, is going to be fired within the next year because it was one of the dumbest.
How does he keep his job?
Trades, and the Drew Holiday trade that he then does was a disaster. Every guy he got from the Celtics was hurt the entire year. Brogdon and Williams, like it was literally everything I said it was and more. So
how can you be that dumb? You know, not just in blundering the opportunity to get something of great significance for Damian Lillard, but then trading Drew Holiday
for nothing
and getting stiffed in that deal too. I mean, how is this guy still? Does he have his name tag on the office still? I mean,
right now,
how is that guy not gone? That's like radio management, that kind of incompetence.
I wish it wasn't common. My problem, it was pure spite. And
if he took draft picks, I mean, he would have been better.
I mean, look at what the guys are doing. Though Jovic took a major step forward this year.
Yeah.
Hopkins Jr. was one of the best rookies in basketball. He's been the Heat's best player so far in the play-in games, to be brutally honest. I mean, Tyler Hero.
And that's after playing. I mean, think about it. He's on twice as many games as he ever played as a collegiate.
Yeah. That was after taking a dip because of the getting injured and trying to figure his way out. Tyler Hero, say whatever you want about Hero, but he's definitely an NBA player, borderline all-star caliber player. If he could ever,
if he could refine his game and be a little bit more efficient and less streaky, he would really be some pro. I mean, he could be. I don't know that he could be, among the greats of all time, but he's an effective scorer. I mean, and very confident. So did he really get in a fist fight with Jimmy Butler?
Oh,
or is that made up, fabricated story?
What's interesting is the first source was, you could see, it wasn't even NBA Central, it was NBA Sentinel, CENTNAL. Actual, but people ran with it because it sounded fun. Now that didn't happen at all. I don't even think they are like, people know who Hero is. They want him to shoot. They're not like, oh, Hero shot a lot.
9 for 27 in the NBA these days is nothing to be ashamed of.
I mean, that could be a good.
It's like a solid 33% shooting. Yeah, holy Hal Greer. What are we talking about here? My God.
I think I think they have tried to make moves. The difference is they haven't closed on them, and I think this offseason they will. I think they know that this group has gone as far as it's going to go. Tyler Hero is what Tyler Hero is. He's going to be hurt a lot. He is hit or miss in the playoffs. Bam Adebayo is a good all-around player. He's not a great all-around player. And Jimmy Butler is on that back half of his career where I think he's still a good player, but I don't know if he's going to be a great player anymore. They have to go get a young star, and we'll see if they can. I mean, I think they're going to do something this offseason, and I think I'm curious what it is. I feel like the Donovan
I-
Mitchell move is there to be had, but I'm not sure if they're able to pull that off. I guess we'll see.
I'm in favor of a total rebuild.
Oh, total rebuild. There you go.
Trade Jimmy Butler. It's not happening with Jimmy Butler. It just isn't. I don't know if they got into Tecumpo, that would be a big deal, but that's not happening.
Okay.
Who do they bring in? LeBron. That's been a rumor. That's a great one. I don't see that happening. Do you? I mean, I don't know that we saw it happening the first time it came about, but and that was one of the great scoops ever. Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
Had that all pegged, and everybody laughed at him. They scoffed at the guy. Now, if he did it today, no one would believe him either, because in between, he's been wrong about virtually everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, how much money, you at least are familiar with this. How much money was passed along to Harvey Dock, the referee of the Ryan Garcia-Devin Haney fight? I was reading an account. Now, I didn't see the whole fight. I've seen some highlights. Obviously, Devin Haney didn't have the same kind of chin that many champions have had in the past, where they could really take a punch. Ryan Garcia is a hard-hitting. I mean, he's a big puncher and very fast hands, but had been completely exposed by Gervonta Davis as not necessarily being among the elite fighters. Now he comes back, he knocks out some stiff that everybody trying to build up. I always love, some guy they just shipped in from Tijuana, who's and you can't do what you used to be able to do in boxing anymore, because they actually have this thing called BoxRec. And I would imagine others have tried to copy it, but BoxRec was fantastic when I was calling boxing, because it was relatively new and it had the actual record, like, of every obscure fighter that ever stepped into the ring and had a license to be a professional. It was amazing, and they were accurate. So where they used to put up, with a record of 17-5, and the guy's actual record was like 2-24, and they would do that, the promoters, but they pumped up this guy that Garcia fought in his last bout, in between getting knocked out with a body punch, which a lot of people thought made him even more suspect as being among the top fighters. People don't like that, right? You get knocked out by a body punch, Louie. Could you see yourself going down a body punch? Right? Some guy hits you right in the liver, and you're like, whoa.
I'd go down with any punch. I'm not a fighter, but fighters don't want to go down from that kind of a punch. Even though, like you just said, if you hit him in the right spot, it could hurt just as much, if not more. You look like a fucking soft ass.
Yeah. Oscar, he got knocked out by Bernard Hopkins on a body shot. It happens. I mean, it happens more frequently than you would think, because normally you'd figure if a guy could take these shots to the chin, how the hell could he not be able to shake off? They're tough as nails too. I mean, these guys train very hard to be able to absorb that kind of punishment. But so there were a lot of doubts. I mean, he was a 5-1 underdog, Ryan Garcia, to Devin Haney, who everybody was touting. Even though Haney's knockout percentage wasn't especially impressive, he was sort of like at 50%. Knockouts, most people were touting him as being maybe the best guy in the game today. And he was willing to take on virtually anybody. Gets this fight with Garcia. They feign like they hate each other, and Garcia acts like a crazy man going into this fight. Was this some kind of setup? I don't know. No, because all of the officials, the scoring was bizarre. Harvey Dock, the referee, I mean, without any warning, any kind of admonishment to Garcia, took a point away from Garcia in what could have easily been like a fight that you could see going to a decision, and a close one, for doing basically nothing. I mean, normally, and meanwhile, like, Haney is fouling this guy the entire fight. It also gets back to one of our theories, Lubie, about the guy with the pink Converse coming to the basketball courts. You better be good, because many people were alluding to the fact that Haney wore these really weird-looking boxing shoes, and that it almost looked like something that you would see a French model wearing on the runway, and you're saying to yourself, I don't know, do you really come to fight in those shoes? That was something that people found very, very awkward about the appearance of Haney in this fight. But the appearance of impropriety was huge. That the scores were bizarre. One guy had it 112-112. This was with Garcia scoring not one, not two, but 3 knockdowns. So you have 3 10-8 rounds out of the 12.
Yeah.
And it was a majority decision. One guy has it a draw at 112, which means that All right, so he had it 115, basically 113 in favor of Haney. He had Haney winning 7 of the 12 rounds. That's I mean, it's possible, it's feasible, I guess, but did seem like everybody was paid off, and Garcia ended up with the victory, so the books had to pay off. Would you think that this was one that buried many of the bookmaking outfits that were taking action and having to pay out 5-1 on Ryan Garcia? Because all the money seemed to be flowing towards the. I would check Harvey Dock's bank accounts all around the world today. Everybody was saying the same thing, that this was like the worst, most biased officiating they've ever seen in a boxing match, and that's saying a lot.
I was going to say, I don't know, I wouldn't use the word worst because, as you know, you've discussed throughout your career the different fights that were ridiculous. Boxing has done it forever, but
oh yeah, with scorecards for sure.
I've heard it was like, I haven't seen boxing on Twitter and all, like people bitching or lamenting.
People were all over this because Garcia is a media, social media star.
Well, he's like a fucking lunatic. But as the professor summarized a few weeks ago, they saw people. What a fight! What a choke job! What a joke! I was like, how bad were these refs? Like, what fight was?
Yeah. When I've seen this Harvey Dock before, I don't recall having any strong opinion about his incompetence. But this was like blatant that he was clearly favoring Devin Haney in this fight. I mean, giving him every possible chance to recover from times that he was decked, and allowing him to just clinch incessantly the entire time, just grabbing onto Ryan Garcia, taking the point away from Garcia without any kind of previous, hey, you better cut that out, Ryan. Next time it's a point. I mean, even Mills Lane, you can hear him saying that. Right? Joe Cortez, as inept as he is for being a Hall of Fame referee, would have at least given a guy like a shot at it. Remember Joe Cortez standing there when Money Mayweather came up and hit Victor Cruz right in the face while the guy's hands were behind his back?
When they counted it, that was the best.
Cortez is just watching.
I love that. That was.
Then he goes into the count. Yeah, 6.
Oh yeah,
7, 8.
Like, dude, you were just standing there. You were talking to him. Boxing, yes. Boxing
has its moments. There's no doubt about it. That's why I love it. Yeah, chaos is bliss. But it's caused a furor, and now Garcia finds himself as the face of boxing. But I'm thinking he not only beat the odds in beating Devin Haney and beat a guy who was undefeated, but he beat I think heavy attempted influence by whoever wanted Haney to win, including Could it have looked any worse? I mean, if you read the accounts of this thing and the stuff that Harvey Dock was doing as a referee, worse than Tim Donaghy. I mean, more obviously than Tim Donaghy, because it took him a while to catch up with Donaghy. I mean, he had to be, some mobster had to be on an FBI tape that had nothing to do with basketball for them to find out that, hey, you know what? This referee is shaving points in the NBA.
We did it for like years.
Years.
They did it for a long
Winks
time.
to the Gambinos who were under the basket there. Don't worry, he's going to the stripe. Okay, sounds good. All right, so the plate is full here, Lubie. We have a lot of stuff going on tonight. Wanted to check this slate here and see what you thought about these games, because you always have to look for the turnaround, don't you?
The NBA's been all over the place. I don't know what to do with the NBA. Every game I thought I had easily pegged. I mean, outside the Heat one, sort of went all over the place.
Knicks 5 and a hook over the 76ers. Knicks at home. They I think managed to cover the spread, but that game was razor tight. Is that right? Razor tight?
Yeah, it was close.
No, I mean, it was going either way. I mean, in the final minute.
Going into half, Embiid played well. I know he did come back in the second half, but he wasn't the same guy he was in the first half. So that's the problem with the Sixers, is what Embiid are you going to get? The Knicks have been pretty good. Brunson didn't play his best game. He had a really good first half, didn't do much in the second half, but he's consistent at least. I don't know what to do with that series, because I had the Sixers in 6 and I would have stuck with that, but Embiid then got hurt. So to me, it feels like the Knicks will find a way to win that series, because the Sixers are shelling themselves without Embiid. And I think, look, the Lakers were in that game for a lot of it until the second half when the Nuggets sort of pulled away. I feel like you're going to see more of that. It feels like to me the Nuggets are just slowly going to methodically get through the West. And again, the West is tough. The West, if the Clippers are going to be like that without Kawhi, okay, like it's going to be an interesting West. I mean, you saw the Pelicans without Zion really push the Thunder.
Yeah. How weird is that, too? I mean, all of these key guys were out. I mean, the marquee guy on several teams, and those teams all triumphed. Although I know the Pelicans lost by 2. That was
they were in it.
That was a brick fest for the longest period of time, and then suddenly it became a very interesting game at the end.
And I think
the Cavaliers they trounced the Magic, Lubie, in that last matchup.
The Magic are where the Cavs were last year. Where the Magic actually have an interesting team. They're just really young. The Cavs have a legit veteran in Mitchell, who now looks healthy. And again, before he got hurt, the Cavs were a top 3 seed all year, and they looked really interesting. And then he got hurt, but he looked healthy in game 1 Saturday. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I just don't think the Magic are ready. And I think the Cavs are interesting. Look, they have a real big in Mobley. They have Jared Allen, who people forget, who's played really well. I wish Bam put up the number Jared Allen put up in game 1. And then you have Darius Garland, a legit point guard. And Strus, who was on a finals team and has been to conference finals with the Heat. They have an interesting team, the Cavs. I think they're going to get right through the Magic, and we'll see if they can put up any kind of a fight versus Celtics, because right now the East just looks battered and bruised, and it's fucking annoying.
All right, Cavs laying 5 and a hook against the Magic at home, and the Denver Nuggets laying 7.5 against the Lakers, who they own. 9 consecutive victories against the Lakers. Lakers did get good contributions from the guys that you would think have to so-called step up if they're going to have any chance in this series. They were competitive last year, even though they were getting swept by the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, they were in the games.
In the Western Conference Finals. It wasn't like they were lopsided affairs that couldn't have gone either way. And so 7.5, a very generous offering there, or is this like the old adage that Bert Sugar used to talk about, speaking of boxing, and he'd say, hey, usually in the rematch, the guy that won the first fight wins by an even bigger margin in the second fight.
I feel like that's what this series is going to be. The Nuggets are going to slowly just pull away more and more and more. Look, LeBron's playing fine. What I want to do is enjoy LeBron as much as we have him, because it feels like, look, as much as he still plays really well, and it's fucking weird.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. I mean, there's no doubt.
He doesn't take over like he used to. Like, he's not going to carry a team on his back. And the Nuggets are just too fucking good. And I also think the Nuggets, like we've seen in sports, because of these caps, and we've seen even with the Warriors, these runs have a time span. Aaron Gordon's going to be a free agent this offseason. You can't pay everyone. Even in the NBA, you can't pay everyone. Every part of that team is integral. Look, Jokic is the best player in the league. Jokic is special. Jokic will have them being a contender as long as he wants to play. Right now, they're scary. Right now, they have literally everything, and no team has what they have. The cap makes sure that doesn't last forever. So, like, in this series, I'm trying to just enjoy, because the Heat are just awful right now. I'm just being a fan, and I'm trying to just enjoy that series for what it is. Saying goodbye to LeBron as one of the great players, because I think after this year, you're going to see him.
You're waiting for a photo that you already know you lost.
Yeah. I just think it's like, look, I hated Jordan so much I didn't enjoy him. It was very much the same with Kobe Bryant. I hated Kobe Bryant because he was very Jordan-esque, and I'm mad at myself that I didn't just enjoy them. So I hope fans take a step back from all the LeBron hate, which they won't, and go, look, we're never going to see this again. Whatever Wemby is, whatever Luka and Jokic are, they're not LeBron. The dude is in his almost 40. He's still playing at this level. He's going to lose. I don't think he's going to be the same. Every year it's going to be a little less. Like, let's enjoy him for what he is. And the same thing with the Nuggets. Like, they're just a really great team. Those things don't last. Like, look at the Warriors. Like, 2 years ago, they won a title. Now they're a fucking disaster. Like, those things don't last long, especially in modern day sports.
No, I mean, the Warriors were there for a long period of time by the modern standard. To be up there for, anywhere from 5 to 10 years and be one of the more feared teams and then distinguish yourself a couple of times and validate everybody's opinion by winning championships with a couple of different types of lineups. I remember when they loaded up with Kevin Durant, and everybody was like, oh, my God, can you believe this? Who are they, the fucking Yankees? I don't mind the super teams. I kind of like them when they come together. I mean, if they come together strictly by, the fact that one franchise has so much more money to blow than the other, then it's not as attractive as if it, sort of happened by a natural circumstance where they at least developed a couple of their own players before they got like one more key piece and then really became super dominant. All right, so we have action tonight and 4 games in the NHL as well. Hurricanes, surprising favorites to win the Stanley Cup, and the Islanders should hammer them, heavily favored. Bruins and the Maple Leafs. That game, that series could turn around. I don't know. The Maple Leafs were handed a pretty significant defeat there. Stars and the Golden Knights. I think the Stars won the first game of that series, and they have this one at home again. And then the Oilers and the Kings. So David Portnoy, who sent me this? Was it Sarny? No, actually, it was a guy that knows nothing about sports. He sent me, one of those screenshots of a Portnoy bet. He bet 150,000 at 7-1 on the Edmonton Oilers to win the Stanley Cup.
Jesus, I mean, look, they have arguably the best player in the sport. So, I mean, anything's possible with McDavid. I don't see that happening.
Portnoy has the money; he can afford the losses. I mean, they keep posting these $1 million bets that he was making. Winning them all, but I'm thinking they don't necessarily document all of the ones that he lost, right? They would show Money Mayweather coming away with stacks of money, but you had to figure somewhere along the way that was going to balance out
Exactly
in favor of the book, Mr. Ohtani.
Exactly.
How do you explain these withdrawals on a consistent basis, Mr. Ohtani, without your knowledge of any of it taking place? I mean, holy Donald Trump, what are we talking about here? I know nothing about that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going to run. Lubie, a lot of fun.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys, 1 o'clock with the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. So look forward to that as we leave you now that. And great being with you here on this Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. As we leave you now that.
The time.
There it is. Flew by as usual here, Louie. 8:59.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my